Mark 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
This is RFD Today, a daily look at the key topics impacting rural Illinois. If you live in Illinois, we examine the issues impacting you, your income, and your community. Here's your host for today's program, Bill Yankee.
Hey, good Wednesday to you, Illinois. Thanks for joining us for this adventure in broadcasting on the 8th of May. And woke, I don't know when it was, doesn't matter when it was, woke to more rain coming down. One of those where just enough to be a nuisance again. And the better chances for rain continue today and tomorrow. Then hopefully we are done for a while. Because of all this, we'll get an update on flooding in a little bit with our own Rita Frazier, who visited with Joe Zumwalt in Hancock County. Talk about what's going on along the mighty Mississippi. Talked yesterday on RFD Town and Country Partners with Blake Roderick. They're expecting not only with flooding, but stages more than record flood stages for at least a week. And some of those records date to 93 and some of them date to 1943 on places that, there's some temporary work being done to keep those things in place. So we'll hear from Joe Zumwalt in a little bit in Hancock County. Also on the program, though, Jeff Cox at the Department of Agriculture, the Bureau Chief of Medicinal Plants. And we'll talk about industrial hemp, several hundred permits, several thousand acres, and a lot of it will be, okay, what's next, what now? We'll talk to Jeff in just a couple of minutes. Kirby Wagner will be on with his regular over-the-road segment, but we'll also talk about some lock and dam meetings that he has planned in the coming months. All that to come on a Wednesday, RFD Today.
Hey, Noah. How was school today?
It was really fun. Our class had a field trip to Ethan's family's pig farm.
Did you learn anything interesting?
Yeah. When a pig gets a cold, his dad called a pig doctor and gives him medicine just like you give me when I'm sick.
It sounds like you learned a lot from Ethan's dad.
Yep, he told us healthy pigs are happy pigs.
Find out more about Illinois pig farmers at watchusgrow.org. Brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau, where it's all about farm, family, and food.
Are you preparing for planting season? We don't mean to be a pest, but here's a few things you need to know before you grow. The Illinois Department of Agriculture now requires special local needs labels, including new restrictions for the use of herbicide dicamba on top of soybeans in Illinois for the 2019 growing season. Did you know these additional restrictions go beyond federally approved labels? Remember, the label is the law. To find out more about these Illinois-specific labels, visit ilfb.org/label-aware.
Hi, this is Sabrina Hardy, RFD Business Manager. I want to thank you for listening to the RFD Radio Network, the #1 ag radio network in Illinois. Did you know RFD Radio Network's programming is being broadcast by Rita Frazier and Bill Yankee with a combined 50 years of broadcasting experience? Join us daily. If you have any questions, email me at chardy@ilfb.org.
All right, welcome back to RFD Today on a Wednesday. I'm Bill Yankee. And joining us over the phone, the Bureau Chief of Medicinal Plants of the Illinois Department of Agriculture, Jeff Cox, is on the show. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing well, DeLoss. How are you this morning?
Good. How long has the department had a Bureau Chief of Medicinal Plants?
Oh, since approximately 2014, probably. This bureau was developed right after the medical cannabis law was put into place.
Okay.
So
yeah, that makes
I
sense.
think I'm the third or fourth person to sit at the desk, but I've been here since, about June of 2016. So.
Okay. Were you at the Department of Ag before that?
I was the assistant general counsel, but only for a couple months before they put me down into this spot, so it worked out pretty nice.
You went from general counsel to this. How about that?
Well, assistant general counsel,
yeah.
and I was actually a prosecutor for about 8 years here in Springfield.
Wow.
Before I came over here.
That's a move. That's fascinating. Okay. Well, so here we are. So we have had the application process. We've gone through a lot of hoops thus far. So Rita was talking to Director Sullivan about this just Monday, I believe. But where are we at this point?
Well, so applications opened up last Tuesday, 9 a.m. We had a ton of applications. I think we brought in like 359 applications in the first 48 hours.
Wow.
Right now we're at 472 applications to grow hemp, and we are at 137 applications to process hemp.
Wow.
And we have not processed 100% of those applications because we got about another 25 overnight. But right now we have approved over 9,900 acres for hemp production in Illinois for this spring.
So this is still fluid. What kind of time frames do we still have for this?
Well, we do not have limitations on applications, so people can apply anytime they wish. One of the common practices for hemp is to grow in a greenhouse over the winter so that you can put starter plants in come springtime. So you can start it with seed in a greenhouse and what have you. So we want people to be able to have that opportunity to apply anytime during the year so that they can go ahead and move forward for the following year. We're hoping to get these other applications processed probably today and get notifications out to everybody that they have either been approved or denied or if we need more information. But then they've got till about June 1st to get seeds in the ground or to get clones in the ground. So hopefully, they've got, about another 3.5 weeks. They should be able to get into the ground, and hopefully we have a great year.
Wow. The thing about these kind of applications, they do this for hunting licenses, they do this for all kinds of things. And surely at one point you're like, okay, how many people do we need to have on this for, I would say when the faxes come in, but that may not be the accurate term anymore. But when those applications roll in, how many people do we even devote to this sort of thing? So hopefully that has been manageable so far.
Well, we've done okay. We've got 3 people here in the office that have been reviewing the applications and approving, sending notifications out to people. We had no idea what to expect, though. We knew interest was really high, but I'm surprised to have. Actually, I think we're over 600 applications now. We were surprised at the number we got. We're excited, we're happy about it, but we were surprised at the volume.
When Bobcats came about so that would have been a DNR thing. A lot of people that applied for licenses for Bobcat specifically applied so that they could hold the license and that would quote unquote save the Bobcats. I have the license so that no one else can, I'm not going to hunt, and I have this so no one else can have it. But in a case like hemp, this is just open to anybody. There were no restrictions or anything, so this is just however many, within reason of the application. But there aren't that kind of limits to this sort of thing, are there?
Correct. We did not limit the number of applications that we would accept, nor the number of licenses that we will issue.
We
want this to be open to anybody that has an agriculture interest and that can plant hemp on what's defined as farm ground according to the property tax code. That's about the only restriction. And you can't have a controlled substances felony in the last 10 years.
Okay. So there are reasons, it's not a rubber stamp by any means. There's still plenty of diligence that has to go in to approve this in the first place.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. But I assume there have been very few, if any, that have been turned away at this point.
Very few. We had a few people that tried to plant hemp in their backyard in a residential neighborhood, and that does not fall in the definition of farm. And we had some people that just missed some information or drew bad maps on our little application. But we've reached out to most of those people and clarified it, and we've helped them redraw the maps online, and so we've been able to approve those applications on down the road.
Gotcha. Backyard thing's kind of hard to fix, but some of those other things, you can work with. That's fascinating. So, from a processor standpoint, that's another thing. You don't want to turn this sort of thing away, but you also wonder about the business climate with 160 processors in the state. So, how all that sort of thing shakes out. You can do the paperwork for it, but then there's a whole lot of what now, I guess, that would go into that sort of thing.
Sure. The processor has to look at it as, well, we have to register anybody that processes hemp. And so this might be somebody that wants to buy some hemp flour and grind it up and put it into soap or something like that, to sell at the farmer's market. But it could also be a giant conglomerate company that wants to make building products or wants to make insulation or hemp lumber or something like that. So it's a very broad stroke across there as far as who has to register as a processor. We've got 137 people who have registered as processors. And now the challenge for them is now they need these farmers to plant and have good harvests so that they have a supply to process, right? Mm-hmm. So it is with it being a new crop in Illinois, with people are trying very hard to get educated as to how to grow it, when to push fertilizers, things like that. It'll be really interesting to see how this all pans out. We have been very fortunate, though. We've had some people come forward that want to help, some seed folks that came in from Colorado that want to help educate the Illinois farmer as to the right cultivation methods and answer questions. And it's kind of it's almost like a little hemp family we have here in Illinois. They all want each other to succeed. So it's been really interesting to watch.
I think about the times where you just drive along to see what the neighbors are doing. There's always that neighbor who's out first, or there's always that neighbor who might be doing different kind of practice. Like what's going on with them. But yeah, this is one of those communities where it's interesting because we're all in it at the same time, we're all in it together, kind of thing. So let's see how this thing takes off. That would be a little bit different, I bet.
Yes, and it's going to be interesting for people to drive by a field of CBD plants that resemble another plant that's not quite so popular with a lot of folks. So, especially in rural communities, So it'll be interesting how people. The more we educate people about the safety of hemp and that it's not marijuana, it'll be I think accepted more and more and more. So
I have a couple other questions. If you wouldn't mind hanging on, Jeff, we have a break here, but I have a couple more questions here. Jeff Cox at the Department of Ag and the Bureau Chief of Medicinal Plants on RFD today. Stay with us.
Farm Week and Partners Magazine editor Chris Anderson connects rural routes for you. Chris shares her 4 decades of writing expertise by making sure each edition delivers the best information. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I was raised on a farm in Champaign County growing corn, soybeans, popcorn, pumpkins, and poultry. My top priority is to inform, educate, and even entertain Farm Bureau members.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
What's the excitement about buying a brand new car when you pay full price for it? County Farm Bureau members have a reason to be excited. A Farm Bureau membership gives you 2 car purchase discounts. When members buy a new Ford vehicle, they receive $500 off their purchase. And with the purchase of a qualifying Lincoln vehicle, they receive $750 off. Everyone loves a good deal, and the money saved is worth the price of our annual membership. This is just one of our 300,000 plus discounts that are always changing to fit our members' needs. Not a Farm Bureau member? Visit Illinois Farm Bureau online and join today.
At Country Financial, we know the right crop hail insurance can help you feel secure no matter what kind of weather. Our Grain Guard crop hail insurance can help protect your crops from risks like hail, lightning, fire, and more. This exceptional protection, combined with personalized attention from a local crop-certified rep, is why we're the #1 crop hail insurer in Illinois, and our experts are here to help you succeed. Learn more at countrycrop.com. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. This entity is an equal opportunity provider.
Hi, I'm April Jewell, a teacher in Ballard County School District in Kentucky. Last year, we received word that our school had been selected to receive a $25,000 grant from the America's Farmers Grow Rural Education Program, sponsored by the Monsanto Fund, a philanthropic arm of Bayer. The grant is designed to help further science, technology, engineering, and math education. We used it to upgrade the technology in our classrooms, to enhance health science curriculums, and better prepare our students for various career paths. Now through April 1st, farmers can nominate a school district to apply for $10,000 or $25,000 grants aimed at improving STEM education. I would encourage all eligible farmers to nominate today for a chance to make a lasting impact in countless classrooms. The process takes less than 5 minutes, and farmers can nominate their school district by visiting americasfarmers.com. That's americasfarmers.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Welcome back to RFD Today on a Wednesday. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Jeff Cox is joining us over the program down in Springfield. We're talking industrial hemp here, and he's Bureau Chief of Medicinal Plants. The recreational, by the way, if it hasn't been voted on yet, could very well be this week, I believe. And I think we have Kevin Simlaw on tomorrow. We may chat with him about that. But talking about industrial, and you made the comment, Jeff, because hopefully now that people are being approved, hopefully they can get planted. For those that are doing this on actual farm ground, planting progress for everything else is pretty slow. So this is sort of regimented, isn't it, on what they have to do during the course of the year? How much flexibility would be in there for a farmer based on weather conditions like this?
Yeah, like I said, I think a minute ago, the goal date for most folks is June 1st. And we'll see. I think this year, if we can get in later, in what kind of yields we can get from a little bit late planting. Last year, our research plot that was over in Roseville, he didn't get in the ground till about June 14th, I think. So a couple weeks late, and he had a pretty nice crop overall. He only did a third of an acre, but he had a nice yield out of that, and it was all CBD plants. So this is again just a learn as we go kind of a thing, and we'll be reaching out to other states, I'm sure, to see how they handle this. I know Illinois is not the only state that's facing all these torrential downpours and all the flooding. So it'll be interesting again.
Yeah, absolutely. We had Andy Houston on a couple of weeks ago, in fact, from over in Roseville, who's planning to go to 17 acres. So, if you can go from a third to 17, then that certainly shows that there is opportunity here, I guess.
Absolutely. And he worked with Western Illinois University last year under the old pilot program, so he was able to get some research done and learned a little bit. And I know he's been very helpful to other area farmers as well.
By the way, do we know, is hemp a sensitive crop? Is thinking about things like weed protection and for soybean farmers. Is hemp something that we didn't need to know where it is?
Well, what we need to know is, the story on hemp is that it is supposedly drought resistant, it's flood resistant, or water resistant, so to speak, pest resistant, etc. What we have to remember, though, is with our pesticide laws, nothing can be sprayed on a plant unless it's on EPA label. And right now, I am not aware of anything that has any kind of cannabis plant, industrial hemp or any other type of cannabis plant on label. So I would expect we'll hear something from the EPA over the next year or two about that, just because now that it is federally legal, they'll be able to approve some things, but that's going to be a major issue. And there's always the potential for drift and things of that nature, but we'll just, bridges we will cross when we get there.
Well, yeah, if no one was planting it, then it wouldn't need to be on a label, I guess. So I was wondering that sort of thing. Another thing that I guess we'll learn as we go. And then from the application standpoint, and I assume you didn't have to go into details about what you were going to do, because hopefully of these 160 processors, then folks will have a local market, whatever form that is. I figure the last thing you want is to put this kind of labor into a product and then you have a full Morton building full of stuff and nothing to do with it. So will there be assistance, or, how do you make sure that these growers have a profitable experience or to the best of the ability in that sort of facet?
Well, they say that if you can transport your hemp within 200 miles of where you grow it, that you can still make money. At the 200-mile mark, though, you really start to lose profit. With the number of hemp processors we have, they're spread really from all across the state, all four corners of the state, if you want to call it that. So I think we'll have hemp processors fairly close to everybody that's growing hemp. The plan for the department is we will probably put all of the processor names on our website so that farmers will be able to go to our website and seek out processors in their area to try to figure out where they can sell their harvested product.
Yeah, a directory. Yeah.
Yeah, a directory of sorts. Yeah. Exactly.
Who knew that this sort of thing would? But I guess you plan for these sort of things in the year ahead, just of wondering what all will go with this. So people can still get on board. Do people ask? Do they call and ask questions while they're in the process as well? Can you help them as the beginning phases go along like that?
Absolutely. They're more than welcome to call the office. The website is agriculture.illinois.gov, and there's a link right there at the top of the page for the hemp applications. They're fairly straightforward. We tried to treat this as much like a commodity as possible. Frankly, the only reason it's regulated is because it looks just like marijuana. So, and there is a potential for it to be improperly used. So, but we've tried to make the application process very streamlined. But we sit here and we answer the phone all day, while people are in the application and they don't know how to answer a specific question or they're having trouble with the map. But, we work with folks as best we can. Obviously, we only have 3 of us answering the phone, and when we get 10 phone calls, we can't answer it all, right? Yeah. But we do what we can to help the farmers out and the processors as well, to get everything streamlined as quickly as possible. So if anybody's trying to get a hold of us and we haven't gotten back to you, I promise we will, and don't hesitate to call back.
All right. Thanks a bunch, Jeff. We appreciate it. Very informative, and I'm sure we'll talk to you down the road and see how this thing's going.
Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and we'll be happy to keep you informed as to how the yields go and how many acres we actually get planted and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Jeff Cox, Department of Ag, almost at 10,000 acres just on the first application process for industrial hemp. This is RFD Today.
More farm news and information ahead. Stay tuned for more RFD Today here on the Illinois Farm Bureau Radio Network.
When it comes to social media, Sabrina Berkowitz connects rural routes for you. Sabrina covers a broad range of ag topics, so Farm Bureau members are the first to know about key issues. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I grew up with a grain and livestock farm in my extended family, and today I really enjoy helping people learn how to use social media to advocate for agriculture.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Attention corn farmers. Your corn checkoff dollars are working with the U.S. Meat Export Federation to grow red meat export volumes. Because when we're exporting beef, we're also exporting corn. The beef industry consumes 28% of all corn fed to livestock, plus additional corn in the form of DDGs, a co-product of ethanol production. Now that's what we call working an angle. Your checkoff is working corn from all angles. Because of the Illinois Corn Marketing Board, your profitability is our bottom line. A message from the Illinois Corn Checkoff.
As you prepare for planting season, remember your neighbors. Whether you're an applicator, grower, or beekeeper, use FieldWatch to register your farm and monitor for sensitive sites around you. FieldWatch is a free, easy-to-use online mapping tool. Consulting FieldWatch is now a requirement for the over-the-top use dicamba products. Communicating with your neighbors will help you protect your farm and the environment. Don't wait. Go online to fieldwatch.com. Growing agriculture, we grow best together.
Does the warmer weather have you itching for a weekend getaway? Take your Illinois Farm Bureau membership savings with you.
Farm Bureau members can save up to 20% at choice hotels, including favorites like Comfort Suites, Sleep Inn, Quality Inn and Suites, with even more to choose from.
Call 800-258-2847 or visit the Choice Hotels website to search all the hotels at once and to make advance reservations.
Contact your local county farm bureau for your discount code number.
All Ag.
All Illinois.
All Now.
There are a lot of smartphone apps out there, but do they have what's important to us here in Illinois? The Farm Week Now app does, and it's always at your fingertips. All Ag, all Illinois, and 24/7 where and when you need it for free. Go to your app or Play Store on your smartphone, hit search, type in Farm Week Now, that's one word, and download it today. Brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau, where we're all about farm, family, and food.
From midnight snacks to holiday gatherings. Food is a part of our culture that brings us together every day. To make sure we all have food on our tables, Illinois farmers are going beyond planting crops and raising animals. We're making sure the wildlife that helps our food grow has homes too. To learn more about conservation efforts, visit ilfarmersconserve.com. Preserving our water, protecting our land, providing our food.
This message brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau.
Welcome back to RFD today on a Wednesday. I'm DeLoss Yonke. Kirby Wagner's in the studio. Oh boy, Assistant Director of Transportation and Local Government, Illinois Farm Bureau.
That's like 4 months in a row.
Man, how about that? I didn't even think about that going in. You know, we were talking about industrial hemp first couple segments, and I think about all the stuff that used to grow around the different catch pins at the different pastures that we would have, and thought, wow, boy, it's a good thing you burn pasture early in the year because that stuff could grow just on its own. That stuff could grow, and who knew there could someday be such a market? I mean, it's a different product. I mean, that stuff was just that's the stuff you don't mess with. But my gosh, that stuff can grow. We'd give it an opportunity. All right, that's probably not why you came in here today. Kirby has a regular View from the Road piece that appears on FarmWeekNow.com, and we talk about it here as well. So you get all kinds of questions.
Oh, yeah.
You get some common questions from folks, especially exemptions, and still I have to go through this and that, and that sort of thing. I'm sure you get questions about that sort of thing all the time.
The exemptions is one of the biggest questions that I get, so I think it tails right into this View from the Road post. I think the exemptions is something that really hits home to a lot of our members.
So we're talking about CDLs, covered farm vehicles, or farm vehicle drivers, FVDs.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've heard that one very much. That didn't quite roll off the tongue the way the other ones do.
Well, the farm vehicle driver exemptions, I think, came around in the mid-90s, so it's been around a little bit. Covered farm vehicle exemption's been around for not quite 10 years, but they're out there, and they're available. Guys can take advantage of them if they qualify.
So the CDL has been around now since 1992.
20 days before I came into play.
I was going to say, it has to be right around the same age as you are.
April of 92, and I came in late April of 92.
How about that? So you know this thing forward and backward at this point, but you know why do we have it? Why is it still there? What does that mean for, especially just for farmers who want to be able to haul on with semis?
Yeah, well, there needed to be a license program that showed, for safety reasons, that the person driving that truck is qualified to drive that size of vehicle, and that's part of the reason the CDL came into play in 92. And it was a big process, and I know our members went through a lot of trouble, understanding. And I believe Kevin Runn did 70-some seminars that year to thousands of members and thousands of people explaining what the CDL meant and how to get it, how things were going to work. So I think that came into play a little bit and had some issues, but it's been smoothed out as of now. But I think the reason for a lot of the questions is the CDL came out, and a few years later, drug and alcohol testing requirements came out. So those people driving those commercial vehicles, those bigger vehicles, needed to be regulated, make sure they weren't under the influence driving a vehicle.
Understandable.
So a few years
that kind
later,
of weight, that kind of size, you want to make sure you have control over those sort of things, especially for people driving, as far and as long as they drive. So yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense. And so the difference comes for farmers, because essentially that told farmers that they needed to take a test to tell themselves if they were drinking or doing drugs. They already knew.
Right.
So there needed to be an exemption for farmers. The sole requirement to have drug and alcohol testing is the requirement that a CDL is present. So if you're required to have a CDL, you're required to have drug and alcohol testing. So a few years after drug and alcohol testing came out, the exemption from the CDL came out. Said, hey, you can be exempt from the CDL. Farmers here, if you meet these qualifications, the CDL exemption applies. And if you're not required to have CDL, you don't have to have drug testing. So there's the farmer exemption from drug testing.
Well, now, what does that mean then if they don't have to be 18 years old by any means in this sort of thing, but it could be, it could just be a hired hand, family member, all that sort of thing then. So, I think in some cases you would just want to have that kind of assurance to know that people that are getting behind the wheel are okay like that. So how does all that work?
Well, in the case of the covered farm vehicle exemption specifically, the employee of the farmer gets all the same exemptions offered that the farmer does. So it's up to the farmer to know that, hey, the person you're putting in that truck is in good standing. When you hire them on, you need to make sure that they're in good standing and able to properly drive that truck legally. And so that exemption would apply to the employee as well.
And what about, there are things like J50 and J51? What are those things? I assume this all applies to the same conversation.
Yeah. So in Illinois, this truck, tractor, semi-trailer combination is treated completely differently from all other vehicle types. So yes, there is a CDL exemption, but when it comes to the semi, there's two licenses that are offered from the farmer exemptions, the J50, which has been in play for almost 25 years, and the J51, which was put in place in Illinois about 5 years ago. So those licenses you get, you can use to drive a semi. Now, there's additional restrictions that apply for those, and the testing's the same as if you're getting a Class A CDL. But the reason for those licenses is that the semi's a bigger animal, completely different combination, and those driving need to be qualified to drive it.
Well, that's understandable. You're going to have vehicles like this. We need to know who's qualified to be able to drive it. So there needs to be something in there. But it's at the same time, the farmer's like, look, I just want to go from here to there and back again. How hard should that really be?
Right, and that's where the frustration comes in. So that's what we're trying to smooth out here, and I think a little bit of history behind it helps.
Okay. Well, hey, stick around a little bit. We'll talk about this, and Kirby's going to be doing some more meetings around the state talking about lock and dam closures. And, boy, talk about locks and dams for a lot of reasons, and hopefully they will still hold up before the closures take place, many of those to take place next year. Stay tuned. We'll talk to Kirby Wagner a little bit more on RFD today.
When it comes to our members, Chris Magnuson connects rural routes for you. Chris leads Illinois Farm Bureau's efforts to provide valuable information to our members. He has spent 2 decades with IFB. Here's a bit about his rural roots.
I grew up on a farm with corn, soybeans, and Christmas trees. I've been in ag communication for 3 decades now. My greatest satisfaction has always remained the same, to serve our members.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Spring is here and things are buzzing. Farmers and pollinators are working together to help feed us. In fact, 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat exists because of bees, butterflies, birds, bats, and other insects. Pollinators are important to our food system and the ecosystem overall. That's why farmers and those in the agricultural industry are working together to protect pollinators through education, research, and conservation efforts. Visit ILAGformonarchs.org to join the buzz. That's ILAGformonarchs.org.
Let's check the markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Soybeans started the day a little bit higher. We're already about 10 cents off the highs for soybeans, and corn futures are also lower today. May corn down 4 3/4, 3.53 1/4. July down 4 1/2, 3.62. December down 3 3/4, 3.80, half a cent off the low. July soybeans down 5 1/4, 8.25 1/2. August down 5 1/4, 8.31 3/4. November off a nickel, 8.48. Soybean meal down 50 cents, 2.92.70. Soybean oil down 34. July wheat down 2 1/2, 4.37. June hogs down 47, 88.77. There was about a $5 trading range yesterday. June hogs are rather volatile at this point. June cattle up 30, 112.57. DeLoss Yankee, RFD Radio Network. All right, welcome back. Kirby Wagner is here with Illinois Farm Bureau. Hey, Kirby, you should look for Farm Week's Livestock Special Edition, publishing June 17. This year's edition will feature the latest developments in livestock as well as providing an outlook for market prices and meat consumption. If you have products or services for livestock farmers, you can call a toll-free number, 800-676-2353, to reserve advertising space today. 800-676-2353. All right, Kirby Wagner's here, Illinois Farm Bureau. I remember once I was in D.C. a couple of years ago. I went through a metal detector, and then I went toward another gate, and I had to go through another metal detector. I'm like, doggone it, I went in the wrong place. Why'd I have to do that twice? You know, I had time, so it was annoying, but I had time, so it wasn't that bad. But it makes me think about these things for truckers. Okay, we want to be, because if anyone ever pulls us over or asks questions or routine stop or something like that, we want to make sure we're legal. But I certainly don't want to have to do something I don't have to do, take a test I don't have to, or whatever. So how do I know I'm doing enough without having to do too much?
Well, the place to start is understanding the regulations, which seems like the simplest answer, but the exemptions come after. So first there's the regulation, then there's the exemption. So you first kind of need to understand the general knowledge of what you're required to do, and then what comes after. And I think for those that are just getting started up, the best place to start is reading the definitions and kind of understanding what the definitions and the rules are, because they can kind of differ from what you might think in your head. But then go through and understand the exemptions on a better level once you get the basics down.
Gotcha. It's funny because we could do these interviews for a long time.
All day.
Because you can tell me, because for me, this stuff's just bouncing off. You know, I don't drive a truck, I don't own trucks, I don't have people working for me, so a lot of this stuff just bounces off. But for the people that are, you know, fully engaged in this, it's a lot of stuff to absorb.
Yeah, and I think our members have a great grasp. Through the meetings that we put on throughout the winter months, we have good questions. I think guys generally do understand the basics of the rules, and so then talking the exemptions is easier, and they comprehend it pretty well. And even for those that don't, I know that some people do struggle with it, and that's okay, because the exemptions are complicated, and so are the rules. So that's what we're here for.
Yeah. All right. Now, the other reason you're in here is to talk about a series of meetings that's coming up. This isn't a truck driver meeting. This is a different animal, but certainly very, very timely.
Oh, yes. This is another aspect of my job that I enjoy, is I get to deal with some waterway issues. The locks are closing. There's going to be some lock closures occurring. A short little closure on 2 locks here in 2019. 6 locks are getting work in 2020. That period will go for 120 days, and then 2023 is going to have some lock closures too.
2023 is?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. I had not heard that one.
Not as big, but on 2 locks up at the northern end of the Illinois River.
Gotcha. So I had asked Tom Heinold, we had him on last week with the Rock Island District, and I asked him because he said that they're far enough in the year that hopefully they're still, you know, hopefully by then the water will be down, there'll be time to do these improvements. So a couple of these are still to take place this calendar year.
Yeah, so on 2 locks, Starved Rock and Marseilles, they need to do some prep work so that those locks can be ready for the 2020 closures. So there is going to be some partial closures with restrictions here in 2019, and then a 15-day full closure.
15-day full closure.
In August.
And you say, 15 days? 15 days.
That's 15 days of halted navigation.
Yeah, for those that rely on either up or down, you know, that's 2 long weeks at that point. 15 calendar days, not business days.
I believe it is calendar days.
Yeah. So those are a couple in 2019, and then several in 2020, including LaGrange, which is 4 months. Isn't that what
July
they're open
October.
for? Okay. And since that's the southernmost gate, I mean, that impacts everybody at that point, doesn't it? Or pretty much everybody?
It does, but the way that these closures are working is it's called the consolidated closures is what the industry's calling it, and that means that they're working on multiple locks at that same time. So instead of shutting the river down for periods and several years in a row, they're going to do it 1 year, the big work, and then there's some other mini closures there.
Yeah, Peoria's getting 18 there, and I think there are a couple of others.
Oh yeah, Peoria, Starved Rock, Marseilles, Brandon Road, Dresden Island, and LaGrange.
Huh? How about that? So those that rely upon transportation have been planning for this sort of thing, and will have a lot of questions about this. So what kind of meetings are you doing then associated with all this?
We're planning 5 meetings up and down the Illinois River system. And it's going to cover 3 basic topics. First of all, the Corps is going to be there to talk about the timeline and the work to be done, and kind of their explanation on why this is going to happen and what they're going to be doing. Additionally, we're going to talk about transportation shifts, because a lot of grain that moves down the river and a lot of fertilizer and other inputs that come up the river aren't going to be moving. So we're going to talk about what transportation shifts might occur and what mode might pick up that level. And then the biggest portion of our presentation is going to be on marketing strategies, markets, where like local cash markets might go and things like that. Everything around your marketing plan. And I think that's going to be really important for our guys and just everybody that deals with the navigation aspect of the river.
Well, I would think that even for 15 days or for a month or 4 months, I would think that this would have an impact on basis levels at that particular time. And if that's an important time to know how to market whatever it is that you have, yeah, that could be pretty important.
Right. And the industry has stressed that if you're beginning your plans and really kind of looking at what the closure is going to do to your specific farm, if you're looking at that in February of 2020, it might be too late. Yeah. So you need to have your preparation done early and make sure you know what you're going to do. Yeah,
the last thing you want is for someone to all of a sudden look around and say, hey, what's happening? And then that's how they find out that for 15 days to 4 months, they're going to be impacted for a while. So hopefully everybody will know this sort of thing beforehand. So when do the meetings begin?
Meetings begin in July. So July 12th. Fulton County Farm Bureau is going to be the host there. Marshall Putnam is hosting on July 25th. July 26th will be Cass Morgan. Kendall Grundy will be August 5th, and Peoria is going to be August 6th.
Gotcha. Of this year?
Of this year.
Okay.
So we want to talk about trying to get people prepared. And while these county farm bureaus are hosting, we're getting some help from the surrounding county farm bureaus.
Sure.
Because not just those counties are going to be affected. It's going to be people at least within a 60-mile radius.
Yeah. So you can contact your local county farm bureau manager, and, they all know each other, so they would be able to put you in the connection on the wins and wheres and all that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Free meetings?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So not just open for Farm Bureau members. These are open meetings, I assume?
What we're working to do is also add in some industry folks. So there is going to be a regional impact. So each of these meetings are spread up and down the river, and each area is going to be impacted maybe a little bit differently. So we're working in combination with some regional area folks and industry leaders as well.
Kendall Grundy's probably a different conversation in some ways than Cass Morgan is.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, we'll keep updated on that. We ought to go to one of those or a few of those too while we have the chance this summer. So
come on over.
Good stuff. Kirby, thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's Kirby Wagner at Illinois Farm Bureau, and again, you can contact Kirby for that matter, K. Wagner, or K. Wagner, as I like to say, at ilfb.org, or contact your County Farm Bureau manager about issues for these lock and dam closure meetings to come up this summer. Rita Frazier will be on next, talking with Joe Zumwalt in Hancock County with an overview of some of the work being done to help protect against the high waters, in this case, from the Mississippi River. Stay tuned. This is RFD Today. Let's check livestock markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Illinois direct hog market was steady again yesterday, $51 to $57 a hundredweight. Sow market, though, was sharply lower, as much as $8 lower on the heavyweights, $52 to $61 for lightweights, $59 to $67 on the heavies. We were in the mid-70s late last week and early this week on the sow market. Light boar's top of 32 was $3 lower than several weeks, in fact. The CEO of Fibro Animal Health, Jack Benheim, told investors, according to Dow Jones, the spread of African swine fever in China has decimated his company's sales for the quarter and their forecast for the next year, and also believes that damage is worse than the market knows, saying that sources in China say hog production will be down by as much as 50% this year, could be as many as 350 million pigs. DeLoss Yankee, RFD Radio Network.
How do people benefit from raising livestock here in Illinois? Rich Giebert, Illinois farmer, president of the Illinois Farm Bureau.
Well, growing up on a livestock farm was always interesting, and I enjoy it more today than I did back then. But it did give me the opportunity to have a good work ethic, learn to get up in the morning. And that was difficult during my senior days at high school and college days. I had a tendency not to go to bed at a respectable hour. But no, it was always enjoyable on the farm and getting up before daybreak and milking the cows and getting the chores done and then go about the rest of the day's business.
Illinois Farm Bureau, along with beef, corn, milk, pork, and soybean associations, make up the Livestock Development Group, supporting the Illinois livestock sector. For more information, check out illinoislivestock.org. On a Wednesday, I'm Rita Frazier. We did focus on the Mississippi River in talking to Joe Zumwalt yesterday in Hancock County. He and his father working hard in the drainage district, the Hunt Lima Lake Drainage District, and near their hometown of Warsaw. And they talked a little bit about their thoughts for the week ahead. And now, when you talked about that potential next crest and sometime in the next week, what are you thinking as far as the charts that you've been watching and so on? What are you thinking for that next crest?
Yeah, if you look at the hydrographs right now, it shows the Mississippi River on the decline, and it is. It has come down about 2.5 feet from its last crest over the weekend. I would anticipate, if we get 2 to 3 or 4 inches in the Iowa City to Des Moines area, that we could definitely see another 24 to 25 foot crest. That's just my observation of watching the river and where rainfall happens. The crest that we had over the past weekend was the 3rd highest crest they've had on the Mississippi. So that would put us right back in that territory again, and just not a sound position to be in.
And you're thinking, again, back to the weekend time frame, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, usually if we get those types of rains there, and depending on what kind of rainfall we get in our immediate area, it helps to sustain the water that's there. So the river would probably quit falling, be level for a day or two, and then start to rise again if we get that rain to the north. So, yeah, I think after this rainfall event, we probably have 3 or 4 days before we saw the next crest, would be my speculation.
We've talked to other folks in the Farm Bureau system especially about, do you need help? How do they help if they want to? Are there always hands that are needed?
If we get to the event where we have that crest, there will be a call for help. At this point, most of our preparation is mechanical. We actually are having some filled sandbags being hauled in today, and I just heard about them. I'm not exactly sure where they're coming from, but I know there are some sandbagging efforts, taking place along the Illinois River because their crest is a little bit higher as compared to previous crests. So they're in a little bit more of what I'd say emergency mode. Certainly if we get this rainfall, there will be a need for assistance along the Mississippi, all the way from Burlington all the way south through the Snide District there south of Quincy.
And back over to the Illinois, what are you thinking there as far as crest?
Their crest predictions, while ours were in the 3rd highest crest that we had there last weekend, what I've looked at on hydrographs along the Illinois is that their crests were going to be a little bit higher, not record crests, but closer to their record crest. They really have some concerns, especially if this rainfall does come in the areas they're talking. They're going to have some potentially heavy rainfall amounts right at the time that they're cresting. I know through that Beardstown area, they're cresting pretty much as we speak, I believe, here the midweek here. And so that's the worst time to get a 2 to 3 inch rain, is right when that crest is rolling through.
What else didn't I ask that you think is pertinent? What's on your mind today?
Couple things, and it kind of is about the issue of flooding and river maintenance in general. Us in Farm Bureau and a number of other organizations, commodity groups, have been working to try to get continued improvements on the Mississippi River, not just locks and dams, levee improvements and flood protection. We're seeing these flood events happen more and more, and the biggest impact that is affecting all farmers across the Midwest now is the reduced commerce via the Mississippi and Illinois rivers. The elevators here haven't been able to ship grain, and if we go another month without being able to ship grain, we're going to be in positions where these elevators can't get prepared for the next harvest because they simply aren't going to be able to ship out the amount of grain they need to prepare for the 2019 harvest. We're starting to see, and I think that's an issue that's going to trickle down through the summer even as floodwaters recede, is the impacts that reduced infrastructure maintenance, I guess you would say, has on commerce for agriculture, for coal, for anything that's transported on the river. And the other issue that I think we're going to see as the floodwaters recede is whether or not what has occurred here becomes an Illinois or a federal emergency, because all these drainage districts and everyone who is doing this flood fight and preparing for these waters are spending money to try to maintain a system that is more than just protecting our acres. It's maintaining a national transportation structure. And so there's a great deal of money being spent on flood protection, emergency flood protection, that we hope that in the end we can get some assistance on.
Back to the fact that you said that most people have evacuated, so they're stored grain, because, given what you've said, has that been a tough place to find a place to put that grain?
It has been. So we sit in between Warsaw and Quincy, Illinois, and our primary, of course, is a grain processor in Quincy, grain processor in Keokuk, Iowa. But our immediate elevator is Ursa Farmers Co-op, which operates 4 river terminals. 3 of them are completely full. Obviously, the river closed for winter. It opened back up for maybe a couple weeks, so several of those elevators had a time to load a few barges, but not very many. And that space immediately filled back up. And so as we were hauling out, we had been hauling as steady as we could when the elevators were available. When this past crest came in, we had about 25,000 bushel of crop left in grain structures in the bottoms that we ended up having to haul to about 30 extra miles to find a place for it, to an inland elevator that will in turn have to truck it back to the river at some point in time. So there definitely is, in my opinion, soon going to be a bottleneck, especially with that Illinois River closed now. There's going to start to be some bottlenecks as far as grain movement. The other aspect we haven't really discussed is the impacts of rail transportation when the river has been up. Numerous rail bridges and rail lines near the Mississippi have been closed, and so there's been some real challenges to the rail transportation industry, not just with ag commodities, but with getting all types of products from east to west and west to east. So there's been some real issues with the rail transportation as well.
It's Joe Zumwalt in Hancock County talking to our Rita Frazier about all that's going on with the high water, and prayers and best wishes go out to